Hey everyone, welcome to the Work Time Phone Podcast. I'm McGregor and let's get started. Okay, so if you're listening to this podcast, you may or may not have noticed I haven't uploaded in quite some time. Gone through some personal things here, a little bit of unfortunate death in the family, and a little bit of some other things. Actually, just gone through some COVID, unfortunately. So my voice is a little bit recovering from that. And yeah, but overall, I mean, it's okay. Everything's good. So my own personal family is okay. And she was just an extended family. So, but nonetheless, we're trying to get back into things. And yeah, trying to get you informed and at least hear things about stuff that's coming from my perspective and maybe help share or see things in a different light from your own perspective. All right, let's get going. At the time of this recording, it is Tuesday, July 19th, 2022. And according to the last time I uploaded, that was on June 5th. So a little over 6 weeks ago. And man, has there been a lot of things since then. I think the last upload I have, let me check here. Oh my gosh, Obi Wan episode 3, part 3. So of course, we finished Obi Wan, and overall it was a pretty good series. I enjoyed it. I think everyone else, it's up for debate. Definitely up for debate because, there's a lot of people who thought, oh man, there could have been more done with this story. Or there's others that are like, hey, appreciate what we got. I'm kind of in the camp of like, I appreciated what we got out of this series. Yeah, there could have been a little bit more, like, I guess, more meat or meat and potatoes, more depth into the story than what we got. Or maybe gone into a little bit more Easter egg kind of things, like tying more things to the Attack of the Clones series or to Rebel or whatever. But then, it got to me thinking, it's like, okay, maybe they are saving some stuff for a future series, perhaps. Obi Wan Kenobi series season 2, or maybe another actual movie, because this intended to be an Obi Wan Kenobi series movie, or Obi Wan movie instead. So we'll see. I've yet to see, if you haven't heard, there's a edit that some fan made. He made a custom edit of the 6-episode series and turned it into a 2.5-hour movie, according to his pacing. So I haven't had a chance to check that out, but I've heard some pretty good things, saying like, oh man, hey, they could have really turned it into a movie. But it looks like it's going to be quite some time until we do have a new Star Wars movie. For last I've heard, it's going to be the one that Taika Waititi is going to direct. And if you don't know who that is, I'm sure you should all know if you're listening here. But yeah, he's the director for Thor Ragnarok and more recently the Thor Love and Thunder. Oh man, that's another fun one to watch. I'll discuss that later though. But in the Star Wars sense, we've got more series coming up. We've got, Mandalorian season 3 that needs to be coming back up. I think end of the year or it's end of the year. It's got to be end of next year or beginning of next year. And then what else we got there? We got the animated series. It's gonna be an origins of like Ahsoka's story and Count Dooku. So we'll see how that goes. And I don't think there's anything Ahsoka series that's still in the works. I think that's slated for next year, so we got some time until then. And yeah, that's it for about the Star Wars-y kind of world there. At least the important bits. I'm sure I'm missing something, but hey, just going off the cuff right here. And as far as what else has been going on, what else have I missed? The Miss Marvel series. Yeah, so that premiered just as Obi-Wan series was ending. I think towards the 5th episode, I believe, that's when we had the initial release of Miss Marvel. And, that's another bit of contention there. You got people who are like, it's another, like, teenage girl drama, high school kind of thing going on. But, the same thing could be said about, Spider-Man, There's a teenage boy. But in this instance, it just happens to be a person of color. She's Pakistani. And we're seeing a lot more of that culture of her heritage brought on in the show. And I thought, hey, this is really cool. There's a lot of content creators I've seen out there who just really like just loving the fact that this exists, that Marvel has created it, and that we get to see, another side of people that we have. Because, we're all different. We're all humans. We're not all just a typical, whatever you see here in America. I mean, it is, based in American New Jersey. So it's really close to Spider-Man, speaking of which. The distance between Peter Parker in New York and Ms. Marvel, Kamala Khan in New Jersey are really close. So we're bound to see some overlap there. At least if not from, the two main characters themselves, maybe from the side characters visiting each other's, areas or territories or something along the lines. But if you finish watching Ms. Marvel, then the next time that we're going to see Kamala Khan is in The Marvels, which is basically Captain Marvel 2, which is slated for next year, 2023. So we'll get into that. But some of the important facts that we got out of Ms. Marvel. So whether you watched it or not, it did bring out some important facts, especially in the very last episode where, Ms. Marvel, now's the contention, the debate here. She isn't the typical, she doesn't have the typical power set that she has from the comics, where she's an inhuman. She got her powers from the Terrigen Mist and, all that kind of stuff that came from the comic books. No, the MCU did it in a different way. They made it so that, it looked like that she got her powers from those wristband things that came to her from her grandma. And later on, you find out, you see the final episode, and no, her buddy tells her, no, there's everyone was thinking, everyone that's reviewing these shows and stuff, those bands are the nega bands, they're from Kree technology. That's how she gets her powers, and that's how it relates to Captain Marvel, because, she got her powers from Kree tech and the Space Stone, or Infinity Stone, But there's a little bit more to it, because if it was just the bands, and then anyone in Kamala's family could also use it potentially, right? Like her mother especially, because that's the lineage it came from. Her brother even, because same biology there, same parents. But at the very end of the episode, Kamala's friend, what's his name? Got his name already. I'm gonna call him Brian, like how Comrade did. Bruno, that's it, because we don't talk about Bruno. Bruno told Kamala, just towards the end, it's hey, there's something different about your genes. So I was checking out, it's basically, he called her a mutant. And man, that's important, because never in the MCU has anyone ever been, mentioned as a mutant. Or in this case, he said, there's a mutation in your genes. But that's a deadpan giveaway that, hey, she's a mutant now. And Marvel MCU is defining mutants now in, their live action. Whether, in a series here, but it's also going to be potentially be in all their movies. And oh man, we're just that one step closer to getting our more well-known mutants, the X-Men, right? Are we right there? Yeah. And I don't know if you heard in other news, but Taron Edgerton, saying right? Let me look him up. Anyways, he's the same actor who's the main guy in Kingsman, and he's also, what did he do? He did the what's that one movie? Rocket Man, and he was portraying, what's his name? Elton John. It took me a little bit there, and a whole bunch of other movies. But yeah, he's been in talks, supposedly with Kevin Feige with Marvel, and wanting to become the new Wolverine. So that's all, that's all talk coming from him. There's no official sources or anything coming out of Marvel yet, so who knows? That's still a while to go. But that just comes along the lines that, man, we're just getting, inches now closer to getting the X-Men mutants in the MCU where they rightfully belong, and not all the craziness that we got out of Fox. Don't get me wrong, I love the original X-Men, X-Men 2, and that's when it started kind of getting funky. But yeah, those are some of the earliest movies. Aside from Spider-Man, some of those other superhero movies. Blade even, but X-Men, that's what really kicked it off for me when you first saw Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Oh man, that like really jump-started his career, right? And it's just perfect casting with Professor X, Patrick Stewart. Oh man, he's awesome. He even brought him back for Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness. So, you know how big of it, if we could only get Hugh Jackman back, but kind of doubt it. He really loved that ending for that Logan series, and wouldn't blame him. So yeah, we're all waiting to see who's going to be the new X-Men. Also in the realm of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU, we had Thor Love and Thunder, which came out a couple of weeks ago, and I did get a chance to see that. I didn't get to post a review or anything immediately following, although there's probably a whole bunch of crap ton of reviews out by now, or even before then, all the early reviewers. And early consensus is that, it's good, it's funny, it's everything that you'd expect out of Taika Waititi directing it and, helming it, and just more of what you got out of Ragnarok. But, to some degree, a little bit too much. I'd have to agree that probably Ragnarok was the better movie still overall. I mean, story beats and just pacing and everything. And Love and Thunder was just a whole crapload of, not crapload. It was hilarious. It was entertaining. It was fun. And damn, those goats. I'm actually making those goats as my ringtone. So just to annoy the heck out of everyone nearby me. So if you see me, hey, listen for my ringtone. Anyways, Thor Love and Thunder brought back Natalie Portman. Oh man, long time fan of hers from, Leon the Professional. If anyone's seen that, that's probably one of my early times of catching her performance. And of course, in Star Wars, which is funny because Taika Waititi, like I mentioned, the director of this Thor Love and Thunder, he is also going to direct the new Star Wars movie. And one of the story beats that came out was that Taika was asking Natalie, hey, do you want to be a part of a Star Wars movie? And Natalie's all like, yeah, already was. And I was like, oh yeah, she was, Queen Amidala, Padme. And then Taika's like, oh yeah, I forgot about those. And, oh man. Yeah, so then that kind of caused a little bit of uproar. It's like, Star Wars is just like, how can you have someone who doesn't even know about Star Wars direct the next movie? Blah, 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 whatever. But if there's anything to see, that Taika has a unique ability to create fun, entertaining, engaging movies that are also really funny. It comes out of his wacky mind. I'm not sure if you've ever seen Jojo Rabbit. That was another movie that Taika made. Or even a show, Our Flag Means Death, the swashbuckling pirate show that he has on HBO Max, or a whole bunch of other things that he's been in. He's a pretty interesting fella, and I think he could bring a lot, especially with Star Wars. It's just, how can we say it? Aside from the series that we're getting, all the stuff on Disney Plus, Mandalorian, Boba Fett, Ahsoka coming up, and all that, those are great. But we haven't really, our last movies were the Star Wars sequels, and it just felt like those were entirely different movies. I could go on and on about it. People I talk to at work and different places, they know I can go on about it. We're not gonna go there, but we need something fresh, and we definitely need a new vision, a new kind of direction to go with Star Wars, so that we can bring back the fun and have everyone enjoy it again. And yeah, we'll have people that just be negative Nancy's and all that kind of stuff, but at least overall enjoy the films. And yeah, actually, before I go off too far on a tangent there, we were talking about Thor Love and Thunder, and okay, yeah, I love the movie. I thought it was great. I thought it was hella entertaining, hella funny. I still rank Ragnarok a little bit above it, but this one's pretty close. I can't hype it up too much because I felt the pacing was so fast. It just went from scene to scene to scene. I was like, man, give it some time to marinate, let the meat marinate. And so we could savor this dish that we're being served. But no, it just kept going from like boom this, boom that, boom there, and it just kept going as if whoever was, chopping up this movie in the editing room had ADHD and just had to make sure that things were just going, moving along, going faster and faster. And this was fairly a faster cut compared to all the other MCU movies that have been out recently. It has a runtime of about 2 hours. I guess typically all the Marvel movies have been around 2.5. So it is shorter compared to most others. It didn't really feel like that. It felt like it went by a lot faster. I could have sworn it was like an hour and a half or something, because it just went by so quick. I mean, things could have been fleshed out more. Like, I did like the introduction of Gore, the God Butcher, but I didn't feel like there was any, really God butchering that happened. I mean, we saw the result of it, but we didn't see any of it happen. And I was kind of expecting a little bit more out of him, because, okay, you probably might have had to do some research to learn about Gore if you don't really know about him. But he's supposed to be strong enough on his own that he could beat Thor, And he did seem strong, but it's like he wasn't like that strong. It was, how can I say it? But I guess Marvel had to adapt it in a way that kind of works for what they have. And, they couldn't have this whole long storyline with Gore. They had to kind of end it. And, Christian Bale almost didn't go in for this role, except for his kids really wanting him to. And I guess also Taika really enticed him into it. Same with Natalie Portman, because she kind of like signed off on all those, superhero movie genre stuff. But then she said her kids and also Taika, really encouraged her. Or, he's, like I said, that guy, he's got something. He's able to draw all those people in. So, this is in good hands. Thor Love and Thunder, I felt like it really got you in the feels as well. I mean, it wasn't really such a dramatic movie. I mean, it had dramatic parts. But then it's like, it's kind of more about family in a way, about loved ones, or at least those that you love and those that you care about. Because it has really elements of like what's driving factor of all these characters in the movie. What's Gore's factor, the loss of his family, loss of his daughter, and his anger against the gods for this. And then what's Thor's, he's always looking for that love, that family, because he's lost everything. He's lost his father, he's lost his brother, and according to this movie, he lost the love of his life, Jane Foster. And so that kind of puts it all into perspective there. And so when you finally get to see all that put into place at the end. So Gore kind of defeats them all in a different way, because he gets to the end game of what he wants, getting to eternity to be able to grant his wish. And, Thor, instead of like being able to, beat him, in hand-to-hand combat, he doesn't. Instead, he just acts differently. He poses the question, like, not the question. I just remember the feeling of it, because he's like, Gore, you've won, make your wish, whatever. If that's going to be, I'm going to spend the last few minutes with my love, with Jane Foster. And then he already told him, you could bring back your daughter. You don't have to wish for all the gods to die. And so that kind of pulls on Gore's, heartstrings there. It's like, so, and like I said, Marvel put it in a different way. In the comics, okay, you got like the physical, beating of Thor and Gore, fighting each other. Gore, beating the crap out of Thor, and Thor having to level up. All the backstory to that. But in the end of it, it's a power battle. Whoever's stronger wins. This one was more, emotional, thoughtful. And so that's why I say it's a different kind of way of thinking. It's not always just about who has more strength, who has more power. Because Marvel has that in the comics. They need to branch out and do something else that, can make people feel. One thing that I said to other people that were interested in watching this movie is that I thought that you didn't really have to watch all the prior Thor movies. Correct me if I'm wrong if you think. But I think Thor Love and Thunder is a good standalone film. In the sense that you don't really have to know the whole backstory, lore, everything that went on with Thor. I mean, it helps, really helps, but you kind of get the gist of everything that's going on with him. And if you've only watched Thor Love and Thunder, that's your only knowledge even of MCU films, you kind of get it. I mean, it makes sense. So, kind of think about it in that way. All right. With a bunch of these shows and movies that already come out, we got a little bit of a lull, some time until next, whatever superhero or Marvel or DC or Star Wars movie project comes out. Let's see, we got some time until what's coming up. If we think about it, as far as in the Marvel cinematic universe, I Am Groot, kind of. That's August 10th. But the next one really is going to be the She-Hulk series, which will be in August 17th. And then Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. That's going to be on November 11th this year. So those are things that we can look forward to on the Marvel side. Over on the DC side, I think the biggest thing I'm looking for is Black Adam. And oh man, I'm hoping it's good. It's got The Rock, so he demands that kind of presence there. And speaking of The Rock, he's actually going to be at Comic-Con this weekend. I believe Saturday. If you guys don't know what Comic-Con, that's over in San Diego here. And it's the weekend event of just all things comics. Actually, more than that. That's a whole other talk. I've been going to Comic-Con for quite some time. I remember the days when I just used to be able to just walk in, or whenever, and then pay for a ticket to get inside. And then, check out some comics, check out the artists and stuff, and see the booths there that weren't all what we see now. The big, studios, movie studios, TV studios, game studios now even, or even just stuff that it's all Hollywood. I hate to say it, but Comic-Con is just all Hollywood in a very simplistic way to say it, versus the roots of it, of when it just actually used to be about the comics and superheroes and all that kind of stuff. Kind of miss that. I mean, they have a little bit of it, but let's be real. Comic-Con is just one big whole Hollywood convention. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Comic-Con, and I will keep going every year if I can. That's one trick. If there's a trick you guys want to know, if you want to keep going to Comic-Con, you honestly have to keep buying a ticket every year, even if you don't plan on attending. Or more recently, for this year, since I've been, I could only get actual Sunday tickets, so I'm actually volunteering. So, hey, I'll try to put my logo somewhere on me to show Work Time Fun Podcast, or even my name. And if you're at Comic-Con this weekend, maybe catch me around. I'm going to volunteer so I can get my time free in, and then go there for real when I have my badge for Sunday. So, I'm looking forward to it. Even though it's all Hollywood, glitzy, glamour stuff, I mean, it's Comic-Con. It's one big, cosplay fest, and just seeing all the cool things. I want to try to see if I can actually get into a Hall H, one of those panels thing. So, man, if I can get into the Marvel one, I could see all the stuff that's coming out from Marvel and talk about that. That'd be dope as hell. I know, like I mentioned, The Rock, he's going to be there this weekend also, promoting Black Adam. So you got that stuff coming out. And just so many of those things. If there's anything that I've missed from Comic-Con, I mean, myself, is just I haven't actually really been able to attend those Hall H panels and talk about whatever movie or show that's coming out. That's something that I always thought, I don't have patience for it, because, man, you have to wait in line. So I can try to see if I can get some buddies who are interested in it. I don't know if I'll do it myself, but if I have some buddies that want to do it, or if there's people out there who want to just hang out and wait to get to the panel, we'll try that out. We'll see. So yeah, that's coming up this weekend. So at least in the immediate schedule, that's what's coming up. And yeah, we got so many things down the road, and hopefully get to cover it all. Anyways, that does it for me. My voice is all worked up here, and I gotta get some rest so I can do even more. I had a lot of shows that I caught up while I was sick. A lot of things I finished. I probably put some offshoots here about not really in the superhero genre, but stuff that was interesting. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed listening to this podcast. I hope you all enjoyed listening to me. So until next time, have a fantastic day.